as how. Maybe you want to take 1-2 minutes, just quickly introduce yourself to the group here, and we'll go into the question.
Sure.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of background. I was with Prefecto for 9 years. I started off as a teacher on the ground. So as I moved along, I started to have more leadership roles. And before I left to run Polaris, I was leading the curriculum department. So being a teacher, I was very hands-on in terms of operations, dealing with students and teachers, and then moving on to a manager, a cluster, managing many different centers, and then coming out with projects and programs. So that's the reason why when Eric actually reached out to my husband to say that we are looking for someone who has years of experience in education, would you be keen on it? I thought, why not? Because I think many of us would know that generally when you're in a company for many years, as you start rising through the ranks, you start becoming responsible for outcomes when you don't actually fully align with a lot of decisions with your leader sometimes. And so I thought, okay, it's been 9 years, why not try doing something that I can be fully proud of, that I can be responsible for the decisions that I've made in this journey. So I think it's quite timely, when you reach out to me, because I think I was at that crossroad of wanting to just really have something of my own as well.
Okay, so for Sherry's sharing the next 20 minutes or so, how shared on a lot on what's his journey moving into acquisition and whatnot. So for Sherry's, I'm going to move that timeline a little bit. So like the acquisition process and then the first 100 days. So I think today I think the questions that I'll be asking would revolve around that, but Q&A will be open-ended as usual. Right, so maybe just really as a primer again, coming back from this and really understanding your motivation. I think the first question would then be like you from an after-school care and then coming to a CEO of a preschool through acquisition. Right? What was that thinking and what was that really that internalization for you that I want to do this and this is something that I want to do for the next 5, 6, 10 years down the road?
So my motivation is very simple. I have a toddler, so she's 3 years old, and after school care and preschool, they are really very different industries. So I don't know how many of you have kids here, but you know that the preschool in Singapore is very heavily regulated by our government bodies, whereas student care, it's not really a young industry, but it's also not a very mature one. So you are not really governed by you are under the purview of MSF, but you are not heavily regulated or governed by it. So pretty much whatever you want to do goes, but preschool, they are so particular. As long as staff is going to be in classroom, you need to submit it to the government, you need to submit it to ETA and say that I so and so coming in. You want to increase school fees, you need to submit it during a very specific timeline of the year. So it's not like, I want to increase school fees, I want to earn more profits, I'll just increase the fees like that. No. So everything is so heavily regulated, right? But I guess for me, the motivation was very personal because I am very particular about my child's education. And when she started preschool, I realized I really liked the curriculum of the brand that I sent her to. And when this conversation came about with Gen Cap team, so I actually met Zach first, and we were just chatting, and I shared that I actually really like Maple Bear. At that point of time, I do not know what business it is that they are thinking of. They just said education, so it could be anything, right? It could be tuition center, enrichment center, anything. But somehow I brought up Maple Bear. And then that's when I saw Zach was like, okay, share more. and then so I shared, actually I'm really very keen on this brand because I saw how my daughter benefited from it. And it turns out the 3 schools that they were looking at were all Maple Bears. So I was like, okay, yeah, it seems to be it was very interesting, So we after that, we had a very long conversation. I think I spoke with Zach for like 2 hours the first time, and then I met up with Eric next. And somehow things just started moving very quickly. I think, yeah, I then met my current partner that I'm working very closely with, ETA, who's also in the GenCat team. He helps to look at the numbers, he does the due diligence. So he's the finance person and I'm the ops person. Met up with him, thank God we hit it off. And then after that, actually everything was really moving so fast, right? The next thing I know, I'm meeting investors. Then I'm meeting the owners, and I'm meeting Maple Bear's HQ. And fast forward, I own a school. Yeah. So sometimes I was telling Harry like whiplash, there's a lot of things going on at the same time. But I was very thankful that the process was quite smooth, considering how I was also holding a position in my previous company that takes up a lot of my time and energy. So we were trying to do due diligence while I'm taking on my responsibilities of running an entire department, right? It was really a process of having to really plan out your time, your schedule. But I'm very thankful for the GenCat team also, because they were always there to make sure that we discussed, and I always felt that they really had my back throughout the entire process.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Maybe going straight into the second segment, on the deal as well as other. So we evaluated back, right? There are many businesses that we still are, right? So, but looking back specifically to the one that we did, what do we miss?
Okay, so we took over Maple Bear Spring site, and we have since renamed it Maple Bear Springleaf Park. At the point of due diligence, you are given all these numbers, right? You are given the bank account statements for Eating and myself to look through. But so a building block of a preschool business, I'm talking about my experience now. So a building block of a preschool business, I have things like payroll, teachers headcount, enrollment numbers. So these are the three things because it's your in and out. But I think what we realized over time is that the spreadsheet only tells you part of the story. Okay, so what you're looking at is the headline numbers. I see that every month, maybe for October, I have 50 students. The next month, I also have 50 students. Maybe I even have 51 students. And that to me looks like stability, correct? But it's when you take over the business, and then when you start chunking down the number, you realize that I have 50 students this month. Next month, I also have 51 students, right? But I actually have 6 withdrawals and 5 students coming in. So there's actually volatility in this number, which you wouldn't otherwise know when you just look at this very pretty number, 50, 50, 51, 52, 53. It looks like your business is improving, but you don't see that there's actually dip and rise. And that tells me a lot about the business after I took over, that, there's a lot of fluidity in this business. Parents and students move, and then they change school. Parents want to enroll in primary school, they are trained primary school, so then they move when the kids are in K1, when it's time to do parents volunteer work, that kind of thing. So I would say that for all your deals moving forward, really chunk down the number and just say, okay, like for example right now, when we look at other centers, right, instead of them telling me what is their pipeline, their overall number pipeline for the following year, I ask them to really break it down based on level. How many students are staying? Who are your existing students? The retention rate versus how many students are leaving each month, so that I can see how satisfied the parents are. Because at the end of the day, if the parents are happy with you, they will stay a long time. There are things that are out of your control, like parents moving away. But if every time you look at a number, you see that your withdrawal rate is really on the high side, then it tells you something about the business also, whether the parents are happy with the way your current owners / seller are running the business.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to go also to the next block about your day one, so your first 100 days. So I'm going to just chunk these two things together, right? So during the whole process, and I think you touched about this a little bit when you were sharing, right? Was there a hangover when the whole process was going so fast, right? Like what was that thought going through your head? And then also for those in the room here, the first day of us taking over the business, Sherry was hospitalized. If you don't mind me sharing, it's really not to us. But kind of like that was extremely intense. Like, so then how did that process of now have a new business? How do I prioritize? Like then what did you do, and kind of like retrospectively what would you have done differently?
Okay, so I'll address the second point first. It was really very intense, and so okay, but that's life, right? That's life. Things don't always go the way you expect it to. The day before completion, which is the day that we were supposed to finally sign the last agreement, right? I was actually hospitalized. I had to do emergency surgery, and then I ended up being in the hospital for 5 days. And I remember while I was being transported to the hospital, I called Yi Jing and said, "I'm sorry, but I am on the way to the hospital now, and I don't know what's going on because I didn't know that I had to do surgery. I didn't know it was that bad. And but the next thing, so even before I was being wheeled in, I had to tell my husband, please call Eric and like let Eric know that like they have to do this by themselves tomorrow. And I felt really very bad about it, right? So when Eric asked like, so what went through in your mind during those few days and everything? Actually, I think back now, I think there's a little bit of PTSD there. So I don't really remember much of what happened like those few weeks. But I remember being discharged from the hospital and then going to the bank on Monday, like the very next day, to basically take over the bank account while I was limping. And so Yi Jing was like, you okay? I'm like, yes, I am. The handover process was very quick because just a little bit of background. Our sellers they are people who don't like trouble. So throughout the process, they always tell us it's a very straightforward business. It's a very straightforward business. So they didn't wanna spend too much time doing a lot of this like hand holding and then which leads to my second part. No matter what they say about it being very clean because it's a small business, right? It really is. I would say that because my sellers they don't have shareholders to answer to. They are the sole business owners, just a husband and wife. A lot of times, these business owners, their personal life and their business life start to join together. So even now, 6 months after the business, I'm still getting emails from the ex-seller saying like, "Hi, I received these letters in my email box, so I will drop it off, or you can come and collect it." But it is very troublesome, and so I would say that moving forward, if you can write it into your SPA, say ask them to list down a list of vendors, contractors, and whoever it is that you need to be in contact with for the business to run, and tell them that during the month of handover, I would like you to reach out to these people and tell them that there's a change in management. Please remove me from your contact list and everything. Because if you don't do so, operationally you have a lot of loose ends to tie up months and months down the road, right? So perhaps during that handover process, because I was dealing with a medical emergency, I wasn't able to. There wasn't a lot of clarity at that point of time, but I would say that from this business deal, I've learned that okay, I want future sellers to be very clear on things that is related to the business. It should only come to the office. It shouldn't be mailed to your house. Regulatory emails from the government, all these emails, it should be sent to the business email account and not your private hotmail.com. Yeah, I mean they were still using Hotmail, so you know how old you are, right? And yeah, so it's this kind of thing. Oh, sorry, just in case anyone is using Hotmail.
Sorry, please. Thank you. I'm going to say you that. There was actually a question from the floor, I think they're wanting about legacy, about employees. And we've seen this, right? You inherited a team and the teachers are very important. The life and blood of your business. How do you build that trust? Right? In the first couple of weeks, even up to today, I was still hearing a little bit of this. Any wisdom to share with it, or even the experience to share with it?
Experience.
Yeah.
So right after we signed the SPA, okay, so the previous sellers, they were very insistent that no one should know about this deal before the SPA is signed. So we couldn't interview the teachers, there was no conversation there. And then the first time I met them was the day that we signed the SPA. I went to the school, and then the seller kind of just announced to the team like, okay, this is your new boss. And I think they were all, quite taken aback because they didn't even know that the seller was selling the business, right? But I was very upfront with them. I told them right from the start that I understand there's a lot of anxiety behind, you definitely feel a lot of anxiety knowing that you're going to be